1937 Ohio River flood. In January 1937, three states saw the beginning of the worst flood in American history. The three states being Kentucky, Ohio, and Indiana. The flood lasted for 2 weeks and stretched hundreds of miles long, wreaking havoc on every city and town it flowed through. The January month remains as the wettest month in Ohio history. The Ohio River surpassed 79 feet in depth, more than 25 feet higher than the sufficient level to cause a flood. Crests reach a max height of 28 feet. Some parts of Ohio, Indiana, and Kentucky saw heights as high as 30 feet. The cause of the flood was due to the heavy and sudden rainfall and snow melt upriver, contributing to the initial break. When the three states recently getting over the long dust bowl, the severity of the flood was detrimental. In Illinois, the shallowest areas in big locations such as Mound City were 12 feet underwater. Along with the rainfall, thick layers of ice also played a role in the severity of the flood's impact on the cities. Floodwaters reached 64 feet in parts of the state. Over 70% of Louisville, Kentucky was underwater, amounting over $500 million in today's money in damages, resulting in 1 out of every 8 people homeless. 90% of Jeffersonville, Indiana was flooded, leaving the city to eventually declare a martial law for all citizens to evacuate. Cincinnati had damages of $420 million in today's money and wiped out almost 75% of major corporations. Over the course of 2 weeks, the flood reached from Illinois to Pittsburgh, making it the most land ever covered by flood at the time. There were 385 recorded deaths and over $8.5 billion in damages. More than 1 million were left homeless after the flood stopped on January 26, 1937. A big factor in the magnitude of the flooding was the country's struggle with the Dust Bowl and Great Depression years before. Governments of the states affected spent billions of dollars post-flood on dams, lakes, and reservoirs to hopefully reduce the chance of such a severe flood ever again. Trained men of the armed forces did their best to rescue, save, and stop the water as best as they could. WPA crews worked 24 hours a day providing help and rescue services to those affected. Some of the rescue missions they were running included saving families, livestock, preparing meals, giving first aid to injured persons, and serving as an overall optimistic presence towards the impacts of the situation. After the flood, the United States Army Corps of Engineers worked on designing infrastructure that would protect areas surrounding Ohio from experiencing that kind of damage seen. Home construction created a new standard for homes withstanding flooding, spending on flood prevention increased significantly, and environmental protection began to be taken more seriously. The Ohio River flood was an awful disaster for the United States that changed many family lives forever. For the best, though, national flooding protocols and emergency plans have been put into place that if a flood as severe as the Ohio River flood of 1937 ever comes back, Americans will be ready to face it head on.